Good evening, Canterbury. I'm Mike Yardley. Welcome to NewsMakers, where we debate the week through Canterbury eyes. It's an episode with a twist this week, a bit of an election flavour, and our panel this week is made up of some of the newbies in the race for public office in October. Joining us, City Council candidate, current Community Board member Aaron Keown. Also with us, Community Board candidates Jane Broughton with the Independent Citizens and with 2021 Ben Ross. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure, mate.
Good to see you. We will start with the great fuss over sandcastles and ratepayer funding and Gail Sheriff and Bob Parker. What do we make of all of this, Aaron?
Well, hasn't it been a bit of a attention grabber this week, Mike? The whole sandcastle proposal for out at New Broughton sounded really, really good off the bat until the media did a little bit of digging and found out who was paying the bills, and now it's all turned to custard.
Do you think it was appropriate for the ratepayer to fund this trip to San Diego, even though we didn't know we were doing it at the time? Jane?
No, I mean, there's some things that we can quite clearly sort out in our own backyards or seaside. I think that amongst Christchurch and Canterbury as a whole, we could have done our own research. Plenty of buckets and spades around kindergartens, primary schools and people's households. I don't think that we needed San Diego to tell us how to build a sandcastle.
How do you see it, Ben?
Yeah, I don't think that I'm against the discretionary fund. I mean, I think it's important that councils have that opportunity for development, but I really think we probably could have done that ourselves. And I mean, hearing Bob Parker saying that he's 99% sure that the ratepayer is not funding it it's a bit suspect.
Do you think the way he used those terms, 99% sure, there clearly was perhaps a seed of doubt in his head when he said that he was sure what he was saying? Was that the impression you took from that?
I wouldn't say that. I would say perhaps that him saying he was 99% sure was perhaps an effort to get out of it.
Yeah. Are you surprised the Mayor, along with Tony Marriott, who approved this trip, somehow forgot about that between March and August?
Not surprised at all.
What do you think it says?
It says that our elected representatives at the moment are really, really out of touch with the amount of money that they're dealing with, and that this would be seen as such a small amount, just minute. This would have been a piece of paper over Bob's desk, probably all done and dusted in a few minutes. And that is scary that we've got to that point. When I first ran for council, 9 years ago, Mike, since then the council budget has increased by $150 million a year. In 9 years. That's a phenomenal amount of money that they're spending. It's just under $500 million now, every year. And only 35.5% of that's on core council business, roads, rubbish, sewage and water. Where's all the rest go? And it goes into all these fandangle things that the public don't like.
I'm sure the word accountability is one that you're probably already sick of, even though the election campaign proper hasn't started. Do you think it is a valid voter issue, that perception of accountability or otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, I do think the council, the mayor, right down to the community board members as well, you are receiving a fee for the work that you do. Of course you need to be accountable. I think part of the problem is that there's just far too much compliance within the public sector as a whole. Far too much paperwork, things seem to take twice, 3 times as long as they would in the private sector, and I actually think the public sector has a lot to learn from private enterprise.
Obviously, from Thursday afternoon onwards, the focus on the part of Mayor Parker and the outgoing councillor has been the media's role in this, and it seems to be the media that is being whacked for investigating it. Do you think the media have overcooked this issue?
I mean, she was a bit beached, really, wasn't she? But I don't want to take part in the media beat-up. I think that this really speaks to the priorities of our current council, that they're more focused on the stuff that we don't really need, and that while they focus on their pet projects, we really need to get back to the community and to a local level.
Obviously, the concerns about abuse to family members and so forth, no reasonable person is going to ever condone that. Should the media wear the blame for that?
No, I think the media have underplayed this a little. I was a little surprised that they had held back as much as they had. But a lot of council things are like that, and a lot of the excessive spending of the current council, I think the media take it pretty easy on them, to be honest, Mike. But you were right this morning on your radio show when you said that they should just get the police involved. And if someone does ring you and abuse you, it's called the Misuse of Telecommunications Act, and the police can trace a phone call. They don't have to be on the line at the time. If you say that someone abused you last Friday afternoon, approximately 2 o'clock, Mike, the police can tell you pretty quickly through telecom, because that's the system they put in years ago, through computer tracking, who did it.
Is it a turn-off to standing for public office? The ever-present threat that a few drongos, a few Neanderthals are going to hurl the most unbelievable bile at you because you happen to be in public office?
Well, I'm hoping that my skills and experience as a journalist might help me in that area. But, I mean, in terms of when you run for a public office, it's part of it. You need to be prepared to deal with the fact that sometimes you might be in the media on an end of something that you don't want to be. It's part of what that work is. And that's certainly something I've taken into consideration at community board level. Perhaps it's a little bit different. But certainly in terms of if you're running for mayor or for city council,
it goes with the territory.
It goes with the territory, and it does still go with the community board territory. You don't know at this stage, of running for the community board. I have no idea what might come across my front door down the track if I did get on.
Yeah.
But it's certainly part of it.
Just finally, and I don't want to indulge too much in speculation, but I'm sure you have come across the suggestions in recent weeks that Gail Sheriff was not going to stand again in October. Has that been the impression you gleaned in recent weeks, and is this really the reason she is quitting?
Oh, we'd certainly heard rumours of it, but I really think that if you really care about running for public office and really care about our city, that this should not stand in your way. And in any case, the councillors have a fund that they can use to set up a separate phone line. So if they're worried about attacks on their family, there is a solution to that.
Aaron?
Yeah, I was surprised she's standing down. I would have thought that if she had believed in her decision to use that funding at the time, whatever you do once you're elected, you have to stand by your decisions. And if you make a bad one, apologise and move on. But you have to make decisions. That's what you're elected to do. So you can't always be in fear of what are the public going to think. If you make a decision and it's a really dumb one, then you've got to stand up and say, hey, look, I made a really dumb decision. Maybe even pay the money back if you feel that bad about it. But keep running and let the voter decide whether you're the right person for the job.
All right, final comment?
Yeah, I agree with Aaron on that one, that I think all too often people try to make excuses and get out of things. People are human. If you make a bad decision and you're prepared to turn it around, I mean, it's exactly the same as News Talk ZB bringing back Mike Yardley local content. They turned around and said, hey, this is what the people want, we'll give it back. Same sort of thing, admitting sometimes you make the wrong choices, change them and move on.
And eat a bit of humble pie.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a break. Coming up, the ongoing debate, which is a bit of a sideshow, I suppose, in some ways, about Jim Anderton's double act, the part-time mayor mantra. I'm sure you've been hearing plenty of that from Bob Parker. We'll have a look at that debate and plenty more with our guests. Do stay with us.